Hey there, everybody. This is Andrew of Creative Community Solutions. And as you're aware, on the press and media end, we periodically get a chance to sit down with some wonderful people doing wonderful things. So, whether it's in arts and entertainment, community and nonprofits, college and professional sports, even government and politics, it's great to get a chance to sit down and speak with people. To make sure to stay connected, visit acenortonccs.com, click on the menu for articles and coverage, and you'll find the article there. Creative Community Solutions LLC on Facebook and YouTube. So that way you can see the full video as well as other video segments. Ace Norton CCS on Instagram and Twitter. And also make sure to check out LinkedIn and Medium. So as many of you aware, it's 2026. Rumor has it, it is an election year. And we get a chance to talk with one of the candidates for local office. So would you please introduce yourself?
Well, yeah, hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Kiddada Esmera Gray, and I am running for Fulton County Commission District 3. That area is South Sandy Springs. We like to call it South Sandy Springs, Roswell Road heading into the city. So Buckhead, going from all the way from West Paces all the way over to by Lenox, and then going all the way south. Chastain Park, Piedmont Park, and then swinging back all the way over to the west, and a little portion of Atlantic Station. And like I said, coming back up into, oh, and let me not forget Midtown, because all that encompasses Midtown as well. And then coming back up into the West Paces area, right onto the Cobb County, Fulton County line.
Well, we definitely thank you for taking time out to talk with us. Before we dive into different parts of your campaign, could you give us a point of reference of a little bit of your professional background as well as your community and civic engagement?
Yeah, so I have an interesting background. So I'm a consultant, IT business and business consultant. I also am a coach, what I call a conflict coach. My background is in conflict. I've been studying peace and conflict studies since 1996. My master's is actually in conflict management. I'm a trained mediator and negotiator. So I'm one of the few people in the world that actually loves conflict. And that's a good thing. I also have the privilege of working as a political consultant. So I do everything from policy work all the way into getting people elected into office. I'd like to say, if that's your dream, I'm here to help you assist in that space. And I've done everything from, I have a great love for educational advocacy. So I've sat on boards like Georgia PTA, community and schools. So that is the space that I have lent my resources. But then I'm also asked, to be present on a national scale sometimes to just teach about civic engagement, teach about policy, teach how we can build great communities, how we can really build relationships and work together. And I like to wrap it all up and say that I'm also a restorative justice practitioner. So I believe in the space of relationship. Believe in the space of people being whole in the places that they live, work, and play.
Wow, and I'm glad you walked through that. So when I was listening to it, it's really part of it, I'll say community connector, community engagement, community enrichment, community empowerment. And, some people just sum it up the public sector, but there are moving parts within the
Yes.
public sector. Now, speaking of public sector, now with all this background experience and being able to build connections, things along those lines, now it seems like you're taking your public engagement to the next level. Walk
Mhm.
us through the role of the office that you were running for, because some people may just not know.
Right. Yeah. So the role of a county commissioner, and we have county commissioners in all 159 counties in the state of Georgia. So you all know I like to say the county commissioners are like the advisors and the consultants to the cities within the county. So in Fulton County, it's a little different though. And here's why it's different. It's different because we have a great city inside of Fulton County, which is Atlanta, right? And that gets all the press, right? And not in the rest of the 14 cities are like, those are like the little stepchildren. And so it always seems like Atlanta first and then the county commissioners. And what's interesting is that we don't even understand that we are governed by the county. So what that means is that the county is responsible for things like taxes, You might hear city taxes, but the county has an overarching ability to set the taxes. They set the annual budgets for the county. They also do things like oversee infrastructure. So whether it's roads, bridges, so there's city and county roads. Most people don't know that. We just drive along or we just get stuck in traffic on the roads. They also are responsible for the governance of all of the employees inside of the county. And then my favorite part about it is that they actually build the relationships with all of the city council members of all of the cities. So, and they are the advisors. So if, for instance, like Sandy Springs, like the county commissioners are the advisors to Sandy Springs about how is it that you want to develop this particular city. So we can sit on boards, we can give advisement in regards to taxes, in regards to development, who should be the builders, those kind of things. So the day-to-day functions of those cities and be of assistance for the constituents. So District 3 is interesting because I live in Buckhead. Buckhead is not a true city, right? So we are governed by the county itself. And so that governing body, so all of our needs go directly to the county commissioners, whereas the 15 cities, those constituents begin with the cities first. And then if their needs aren't met there, then they go to the county. And last but not least, one of the major functions of the county commissioners in Fulton County is that we're responsible for elections for everybody. So we set the standards, we come up with the policies that those frameworks for the elections, and then the cities implement them and they craft them specifically to meet the needs of their particular city and their constituents. So that's what a county commissioner does. So that's the work. And then county commissioners also show up and sit on boards, like the health advisory board for something, the Department of, whatever. There's just so many different other things to do.
And I'm glad you walked through that because, again, people hear whatever position, but they may not know the work that goes behind it. So I'm glad you took time to walk through so that way people just have a better point of reference and a little bit better understanding. Now, speaking of understanding, walk us through what was the nudge or push for you to go ahead and run for office?
Let me tell you, I woke up one morning mad. And a lot of people get frustrated. So full disclosure, right? I live in Buckhead. I live in a fantastic apartment community. Now, what's interesting about District 3 is that we have 50% homeowners and we have 50% of individuals that live in some rental type apartment condo kind of concept. And I'm in the 50% that live inside of an apartment. Now, I love the district that I live in. And when it was broached to me, like all renters, that it's time, please consider, are you going to resign your lease, right? I started looking at what the increase was on my rent. And I was like, oh my, wait a minute. And I said, well, maybe I need to start looking for a house. And in Buckhead, the average home price is 1.8 million. There are no starter homes in this district. Okay. And so I was like, wait a minute, hold on a second. So I said, well, let me go ahead and start looking for let me start with a what is it called? A lease to purchase. Let me start there. And then that started at 500,000. Now I make decent money. I make good money. Back in the day, that 5 years ago, listen, if you made over 100 grand, you were living large in the state of Georgia, especially in Atlanta. And so that's no longer the case. So I found myself frustrated and stuck because I was like, there's about 50% of us who love to live in this district and we have nowhere to go. But there is no upward mobility like that used to be, right? And I jokingly say that Midtown, if we all started Midtown, that was a little party spot. Everyone found your mate, you found your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, and then you have children, you might get married, and then you want to start moving up, right? Because that's the American dream, upward mobility. And now we're making choices, just like me. People are making choices. Like if you want to move your children into a better school district, they can't afford to come. They can't afford to come. They can't afford to move up. So we have a lot of people moving out of the district. And I made the decision like, wait a minute, we've got to do better. Attainable housing has to be something that we can work on. And one of the things that I know that can be done is that the county commissioners, they have the ability to create tax credits in relationship with the state, right, with state representatives to give some tax relief to renters. There needs to be a voice for people that rent in the district that want to become homeowners, right? And so that's what threw me into this space, doing the research, going, wait a minute, there's more. This is, I always say, like, people come here into this district because it seems a place of luxury. And when I say that, I mean, like, we have really great amenities, right? We have the Atlanta Museum, History Museum. We've got all these great arts. We've got great shopping. We've got great food. We've got great schools. But if you live in a particular area, you might be stuck. And that is what fueled me to go, wait a minute, we need a voice over on that side of the house, right? Because I know from the work that I do, apartments normally get left off the list. For some odd reason, renters aren't seen as fully engaged constituents. And I know that that is not the truth. We are highly engaged. And in District 3, we are a must-have community of the 3 times the rent people. So it is not like you can't have 1 time the rent, the 2 times the rent, you have to have 3 times the rent. And with that being said, we know by statistics and research that people that make over $90,000 are highly engaged. Voters, they're highly engaged politically. So we're losing a voice here, and we need really good representation of people like me who are engaged in the process, who want to stay and live and grow and build and set those roots in this community. And there aren't many options for that. That's why I got into this race.
And I'm glad you explained that because when you hear the word advocacy, yes, you think of different demographics or different audiences,
Mhm.
but the way that you spoke, one audience, because sometimes the perception of renter means transient, and that's not always the case.
Right.
So it's already like a preconceived notion that a renter isn't going to be as engaged or invested because they're here today, gone tomorrow,
Right.
versus like you were explaining, based on the area where you're in, you're kind of there because that's the only place you can move versus what
Mhm.
you're breaking down regarding the
Mhm.
median price of the home to even, lease to own. So speaking on that, and every candidate has their platform or things that they stand on, things that they feel are critical issues. You indirectly talked about one right there with housing. What would you say is another key part of, well, all parts of your platform are
Yeah.
critical, but what is another key part of your platform that you'd like to articulate at this time?
So I believe that we are missing an opportunity inside of District 3. And that sounds odd because I just talked about the luxury that we have here. But we are not, how do I want to share this? We are not receiving the customer service that we need in District 3. So District 3, our tax base, and I want to be very clear that renters indirectly pay taxes via the increase in our rents. Okay, so because there's a lot, recently I've seen a little bit of hatred towards renters, right? Like they don't, no, we do, we do. Our portion of our rent pays into the property tax base, just like homeowners pay into the property tax base, right? And so we need a voice that is asking for the things that we need. And so one of those things I think is great public service and public safety. And what I'm looking at is specifically this. In this public safety realm, what I have found is that we are not providing great customer service nor receiving great customer service in District 3, right? We have a lot of people that have mental health challenges. We have a lot of people that are homeless. We have a hidden homeless population. And how are we serving them, right? So we need to have a greater public safety relationship. And by that, what I'm really asking for is that we need our public safety individuals to be trained in de-escalation techniques. We need them trained in mental health. And so I think that's across the board, right? Because that would be great all across the county. But I know specifically in District 3 that that's a lot, that's an ask of the residents, right? We don't want to see unwarranted crimes that escalate, even in those interactions with, with our public safety. And in regards to public service, I'm saying that we need to actually have better relationships with our other cities. Now, you might think that that's odd. Like, what do you mean? Well, relationship management is key in growing out a base of constituents and relationships for governance, right? Because we need to be feeding off of each other, crossing city lines, crossing county lines to make work more efficient for our constituents. So it's not a problem if we look at Gwinnett County and go, how do we make this better? What are they doing over there for our constituents? I think that in the space of governance, we need to have a vision that's also based in creativity. And so one of the things that I'm looking at is how do we serve constituents that's out of the box thinking? I'm gonna pull back something from the 90s, out of the box thinking, and go, what can we do? How do we serve as public servants? So one, like I mentioned before, if we are working with our state legislators to say, listen, our renters need relief. We want people in this district. We want people to come and stay in Fulton County. Can we start imagining towards a tax credit? How do we allow things like healthcare to come forward? Because people don't realize county commissioners have the ability to offer really great healthcare, not only to the employees, but also to the residents. We just need to know where to look. So it's a visioning process that I think that I know that I, as a county commissioner, can bring to this space. And that those are some of the other things that are I'm really passionate about. And also I think that um the hidden voices, we have a workforce inside of this district that need to be recognized. We're all workers, right? But there's a workforce here that works in relationship to the residents of this community. And we need to find ways to help them dream about staying here. Like we have two properties. There's a property that just opened. It's called the Panorama. I am so excited about the Panorama. It's a condo property and it's affordable. It's actually affordable. It begins at 325,000. Listen, y'all, don't go out there and rush out there to buy one because I need one, right? Leave one for me. Leave a condo for me. But that's the thing, right? We need to be able to reimagine how do we utilize standing properties. And I like to say, I actually like to imagine it this way because I'm a writer too, right? Reupholster those properties to be utilized in ways for families and individuals and single people. So that way they can stay and live here. And so we have that property there that just opened up, I think it was last week. We had another property called the Darlington that became attainable housing for residents, right? That is right on Peachtree. Y'all know how much property costs on Peachtree Road, right? Like it's Peachtree Street, Peachtree whatever. Anything with a peach tree ain't cheap. So, those are the kind of things that I am looking forward to working on as one of the county commissioners.
And I appreciate you walking through a couple of different parts of your platform and just, kind of walking through conceptually and then what can be done almost, I'll say hands on. What are things that
Yeah.
can get the ball rolling and put in place? As we get ready to wind down, we know again, election season, campaign season. Do you have any upcoming events where the immediate and surrounding community can connect and engage and learn more?
Well, you can definitely find me at grayforfulton.com. That's gray with an E, not gray with an A, but a gray with an E. And look for that because we are working on our April upcoming events. More to come. And I will be having a birthday event because guess what? It's my birthday in the month of April. And so more to come. Sign up. Find me at Kiddada, my first name, at grayforfulton.com. And I'm out and about and I will be seeing you all. And please don't get upset when you have text messages coming from us because guess what? It's the political season, right? How else are we supposed to reach you all? Because we want high engagement on May 19th, which is primary day, and early vote begins April 25th. And so we want people to turn out. There's more elections than just the governor's race. So when we are, we're working towards serving everyone, and we want you all to be partners with us, partner with me, so I can be your voice in this space. When you feel like you're frustrated, you don't know what to do, you don't know what the laws say, you don't know where to turn inside of government, in terms of government.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And as a side note, you gave the dates for early voting as well as the main election day. Real briefly, for people who don't know their voting status, could you share with people how they can be aware to check to make sure that they are registered, as well as where to go? And the reason why I say that, even for me, my voting location has changed. So could you give that reminder, please?
Yes, please go to the Secretary of State, the Georgia Secretary of State website, sos.ga.gov, I think it is, and you can check your status. And it is super important for everyone to check their status because when you do, it'll tell you if you're active, if you're inactive. There's really no inactive, they'll just put you off the voting rolls. But I need you all to check because what it's going to tell you as well is where your precinct is, where you can go vote on May 19th, which is a very different day than early voting. So you need to look and see because you can vote in different places on those 2 different days. So early vote, you can vote in different locations. And then on election day, you have your primary precinct. So that's important to note. The other thing is that vote early. I always say the primary day or election day is the last day to vote. Vote early because get it out of the way because you never know what's going to pop up. You never know you're going to be caught in a meeting. You're going to, your children's this, and especially in May, and it's intentionally done so in May because May is usually school closing, end of school year activities, graduations. And so it's all a distraction to take you away from voting. That's why early voting is most important.
And thank you for sharing that. And that's something that we've tried to stress here. It's like we want people to have the opportunity to be as engaged as possible, but please, you don't want any surprises. So please check your status. So
Check your
as we get
status,
ready to
please.
close out with our closing message, and I always like asking this, if people don't recall your professional background, your community background, the information regarding the role of the office, your platform, and your why behind running for office. Of the many life lessons that you have, and I'm sure that you have plenty, so I'm just going to ask you to go into your bag and pick one. What would be one that you are open and willing to share with people?
Hmm. I don't know. First of all, I don't know if you're referencing the fact that I'm old, but I'm gonna leave that alone. Because I was like, you were like, and we were in the back, I just want to point that out. I just need to point that out there. But I want to share this with everyone, right? And this is a life lesson that's appropriate for politics in general, whether it's my Fulton County Commission race or whatever. I People truly feel that they're apolitical, meaning that they don't involve themselves in politics. There's no interaction. And what I want to share with you all is that every day you live under a law that was created by a politician and you don't even recognize it, right? The simple act of driving your car and stopping at a red light, someone put that law in place for safety. So in you abiding by that law really means that you have now interacted with something political, right? And so politics is not something that should be done to you. And that's what a lot of people think when you're not being engaged. It's done to you. You want to be engaged in it, knowingly engaged. And yes, there's a ton of laws out there, there's a ton of policies out there, but just know that you engage every day and it is worth your engagement to make your life better for you, your family, your grandma, your aunties, and your sisters, and them. And that's important. And so I just want you all to deposit that in your system and think about it. Look at the way that you move every day. Look at the way that in some of our neighborhoods, we don't have grocery stores. There's a reason for that. If you're frustrated, where is your frustration leading you to, right? Instead of just accepting the status quo, we can be so much better. We actually have the tools that equip us to strive and thrive, but we don't want to because we feel we are inundated with so many things of life. However, I was going to say, but however, with those tools and access to the resources, we can thrive a whole lot stronger.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that closing note. And for the record, there has not been any commentary about anybody's age or what have you. Bag is just a reference to the tools in your toolbox. But I appreciate you infusing that humor and putting me slightly on the hot seat. But we're going to go ahead and keep moving forward. So, having said all that, we thank you for taking time to not only throw in that little dose of humor, but also giving people tangible things for them to take, to think about, to be aware. And the most important things are be informed and engaged as possible. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, when you visit acenortonccs.com and click on the menu for articles and coverage, you'll find it there. Creative Community Solutions LLC on Facebook and YouTube, and we'll have not only the full interview that you've seen today, but also smaller highlights. Ace Norton CCS on Instagram and Twitter, as well as LinkedIn and Medium. So again, ladies and gentlemen, this is your first time connecting with our guest. Please do not let it be your last. Hopefully you have some takeaways that you can use and apply. So to all out here, to our guests, thank you so much for taking time out. And to all out there, continued well wishes, success, and encouragement. Take good care, and we'll look forward to seeing you real soon.